Hey folks, welcome back to the Stoic Journey. Today, we're diving deep into a truth that hits harder than any words could. Your absence will speak the truth they chose to ignore. This is for everyone who's been overlooked, undervalued, rejected, you like an afterthought, and cast aside by those who believed they could keep you hanging on indefinitely, waiting in the shadows. But you decided to become silent, to walk away. And it ain't the silence of peace, no. It's the silence that scrapes at their conscience, the kind that makes their laughter sound hollow, that makes their smiles fade a little too quickly. Your absence. They thought you'd always be there, clinging to the hope they'd finally see your worth. They saw you as someone who'd crawl over broken glass, someone who'd bleed out piece by piece just to earn their attention. But you decided enough is enough. You're not the type to beg or plead. You stood up, straightened your spine, and shattered every illusion they had about you with a silence more powerful than any outburst could ever be. Now they're blindsided, left reeling in the void your absence has created. They might strut around in public, carrying themselves like nothing's changed, throwing on a mask of indifference. But we know the truth. Behind that facade, they're unraveling. Every room they step into, every quiet moment alone, your absence lingers, a presence louder than anything they could drown out with noise or distraction. But your absence, your silence, it is not something normal. That's a ghost they can't run from. You see, folks, people like that feed off the energy of those they think will never leave. They take for granted your loyalty, your time, your heart. They assume that you're a constant, a never-fading light they can return to whenever they feel like it. But when you chose to leave, you left behind a silence that speaks volumes, a silence that scrapes at their conscience, haunts their thoughts, and demands they confront the truth they tried to bury. They'll try to brush it off, to laugh it away, to fill the void with new faces and empty conversations. But deep down, they're haunted. Every laugh, every public display of moving on is nothing but a thin layer of paint over a crumbling wall. The truth is, your absence has left a scar, one they're desperate to ignore but can't escape. They lie awake at night, tossing and turning, haunted by memories of your presence, of the loyalty they mistook for weakness, of the strength they pushed aside. Now that you're gone, your silence has become the loudest truth in their lives, a truth they're forced to face every time they try to replace you with shallow imitations, every time they turn the corner and are met with that emptiness that only your presence used to fill. This is the truth that dark Stoicism teaches, that real power doesn't come from convincing anyone of your worth, but from knowing it yourself. True strength is in the absence you leave behind, in the choice to walk away from anyone who fails to see your value. And that absence, it speaks a language they can't ignore, a language they're haunted by every time they're alone with their own thoughts. They'll pretend it's nothing, act like they've moved on, but every reminder of what they lost will be there, gnawing at them from the shadows, whispering to them that they let go of something real. They gambled and lost, betting that you'd never truly leave, but you did, and now they're left with memories they can't escape, moments they can't reclaim. Folks, that's the beauty of dark Stoic psychology. It's not about revenge. It's not about proving anyone wrong. It's about claiming your own strength, finding value in yourself, and letting that silence become the most powerful truth they're forced to carry. They'll start replaying the moments they took for granted, remembering the time they dismissed you, the times they pushed you away as if you'd always return. Those memories become reminders of what they lost, and they'll feel haunted by every look, every word, every choice they made to make you feel less than you deserved. It's in these moments that your absence transforms from a temporary quiet into a relentless echo, a voice that whispers the truth they chose to ignore. As the days go by, they'll realize that trying to replace you was futile. They'll fill their days with new faces, hoping to cover up the emptiness you left behind. But each new person will feel like a poor imitation of the real thing, because no one else will have that spark, that genuine loyalty, that unbreakable strength you brought into their life. They'll find themselves comparing everyone to you, realizing with a sinking feeling that no one else measures up. It's then that they'll understand just how irreplaceable you really are. And when night falls, when the world grows quiet, and there's no one left to put on a show for, that's when your absence will hit the hardest. They'll lie awake, staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of their own choices pressing down on them. The laughter they forced, the indifference they pretended to feel, none of it will drown out the truth that now screams at them in the dark. They lost something real, something valuable, and there's no going back. So they'll keep replaying those memories, clinging to them because they're all they have left of you. Every moment they thought meant nothing will now feel like a reminder of the love, the loyalty, the strength they turned away. They'll try to fill the void with noise, with distractions, with anyone who can keep them from facing the silence you left behind. But that silence, it's louder than any words you could have spoken. They'll start replaying the moments they took for granted, remembering the time they dismissed you, the times they pushed you away as if you'd always return. Those memories become reminders of what they lost, and they'll feel haunted by every look, every word, every choice they made to make you feel less than you deserved. It's in these moments that your absence transforms from a temporary quiet into a relentless echo, a voice that whispers the truth they chose to ignore. As the days go by, they'll realize that trying to replace you was futile. They'll fill their days with new faces, hoping to cover up the emptiness you left behind. But each new person will feel like a poor imitation of the real thing, because no one else will have that spark, that genuine loyalty, that unbreakable strength you brought into their life. They'll find themselves comparing everyone to you, realizing with a sinking feeling that no one else measures up. It's then that they'll understand just how irreplaceable you really are. And when night falls, when the world grows quiet, and there's no one left to put on a show for, that's when your absence will hit the hardest. They'll lie awake, staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of their own choices pressing down on them. The laughter they forced, the indifference they pretended to feel, none of it will drown out the truth that now screams at them in the dark. They lost something real, something valuable, and there's no going back. So they'll keep replaying those memories, clinging to them because they're all they have left of you. Every moment they thought meant nothing will now feel like a reminder of the love, the loyalty, the strength they turned away. They'll try to fill the void with noise, with distractions, with anyone who can keep them from facing the silence you left behind. But that silence, it's louder than any words you could have spoken. So remember, in a world where everyone is scrambling to be heard, sometimes the most powerful statement you can make is to walk away and let your absence speak louder than anything else ever could. So whether you're thinking about walking away, leaving them in silence, or you've already taken that powerful step, this video is for you. Here, we'll dive into the unspoken strength of your absence and the echoes it leaves behind. Echoes that will haunt, reveal, and force the truth they try to ignore to the surface. So affirm with me, folks, my absence will speak volumes. And don't just say it, believe it. Drop it in the comments once and for all, and show them you're no longer dancing to their tune. You've decided to step back, reclaim your power, and let your silence say everything they refuse to hear. So throw it out in the comments. My absence will speak volumes. And now, let's move forward. How will your absence affect them when you choose to walk away? How will your absence affect them, leaving only silence in your place? It creates an impact they never anticipated. At first, they'll try to brush it off, telling themselves it's just a phase, that you'll come crawling back like you always did. They'll act as if your absence doesn't faze them, laughing a little louder in public, posting pictures that scream, "I'm fine," and surrounding themselves with people who don't remind them of you. But beneath it all, there's a crack forming, a crack that widens every time they're alone. In the quiet moments, when the distractions fade, that's when the weight of your absence settles in. They'll sit in the silence that used to be filled with your voice, your laughter, your presence, and they'll feel a void they can't fill with empty smiles or shallow conversations. They'll realize that the energy, the warmth, the loyalty you brought was never something they could replace. And that's when the regret starts to creep in. Because here's the truth. The moment you start chasing validation, you've already put yourself below them. And you, my friend, are nobody's second choice, nobody's afterthought. You tried, didn't you? You begged, you compromised, you reshaped yourself to fit their mold, hoping they'd finally see that you were worth it. But they didn't, and not because you weren't enough. They didn't because they couldn't see past themselves. People like that, they're so busy looking at their own reflection that they can't see the person who's right there, holding up the mirror for them. Imagine this. You're holding a flame, a bright, beautiful fire. You're guarding it, protecting it, hoping they'll come close enough to feel its warmth. But they keep standing at a distance, taking just enough to warm their hands before they turn away. They never wanted the fire, they just wanted to feel warm when it was convenient for them. Stop being the fire they only notice when they're cold. You're not there to be used. You're not there to be a source of warmth they can come back to when they need a little comfort. Your worth doesn't depend on how they feel in any given moment. It's not based on their moods or their whims, and this right here is where your power lies. In walking away from anyone who makes you question your value. When you realize that you don't need their validation to prove your worth, that's when you become unstoppable. They didn't reject you. They rejected themselves. They rejected the chance to have someone who truly cared, someone who was willing to give, someone who was willing to grow. Think of it like this. A diamond doesn't ask to be picked. It just is. It shines on its own, whether anyone notices or not. The world may be full of people who overlook it, who pass by without a second glance, but that doesn't change the fact that it's rare, valuable, and unbreakable. So why then should you beg anyone to see your worth? Ask yourself, why did I think I needed them to validate me? Why did I think I needed their approval? The answer isn't because they're special, it's because you were made to believe, at some point, that you needed someone else to confirm your value. But your worth isn't up for debate, and if someone can't see that, it doesn't mean you lack anything. It means they're blind to the real, the rare, the unrepeatable. So here's the lesson, folks. Stop being the melody they only hear when the silence is too loud. Your life, your value, your worth, they're not dependent on someone else's willingness to listen. Don't give anyone the power to make you question your own worth just because they're too wrapped up in themselves to see it. Remember this, and remember it well. Your absence will speak louder than any argument, any explanation, any plea. Because when you walk away, they'll finally have to sit with the truth that they let something real slip through their fingers. And that truth, it will haunt them far more than any words ever could. You don't need their validation, their approval, their recognition. Your worth is already written, already proven. It doesn't fade because someone failed to see it. It doesn't weaken because they didn't appreciate it. And one day, when they're left with empty echoes and regrets, they'll realize it wasn't you who needed them. It was them who needed you. But they were too blind to see it. And here's the twist they never saw coming. While they're left haunted by the shadow of who you were, you're finding that real validation, the kind that doesn't rely on them to confirm. It's not love you need, it's the respect you've always had for yourself. So, are you ready to keep moving forward? Because if you think this is where the story ends, you're in for a revelation that's even more powerful. Stay with me, and if you are enjoying this video, drop a quick "keep it up" in the comments to show your support. The role of guilt and regret in those left behind. While you've been realizing your worth, building yourself up into something stronger, more resilient, they've been sitting in a different kind of silence for a while. They might act like everything's normal, brushing off any hint of regret or guilt. But when they finally see you changed, thriving, unbothered, that's when something heavy will hit them. Regret. The kind of regret that feels like a weight pressing down on the chest, making each breath a reminder of what they lost. This isn't the shallow regret of a mistake quickly forgotten. It's the deep-seated realization that they let go of something real, something they'll never find again. They'll replay every moment they dismissed, every time they pushed you aside, and in that reflection, they'll start to see the truth. They gambled with your loyalty, and they lost. Oh, they'll try their best to hide it, to act as if seeing you thrive doesn't bother them. They'll put on a brave face, shrug it off, and tell themselves they made the right choice. But when they're alone, with no one to impress, that guilt will linger, a silent companion that doesn't fade. It will knot them, a relentless reminder of their choices, and they'll be haunted by the truth they've tried to bury. They lost someone irreplaceable. The transformation they never saw coming. As their guilt starts soaring at them, you're stepping into something far greater, your own power. While they sit in the regret they tried to ignore, you're walking through a new chapter, one where you're not defined by their validation or lack thereof. This is where the real transformation begins, the part where you become something they could never imagine, stronger, more self-reliant, and unapologetically true to yourself. See, you've come to understand a powerful truth. True strength doesn't come from chasing someone's approval. It's in knowing your own worth, in realizing that you don't need anyone who couldn't see what was right in front of them. You've learned that silence, the very thing they took as weakness, is the purest form of resilience. It's the strength to not respond, to not explain, to not plead for a place in someone else's life. Instead, you've carved out your own path, one that no longer depends on the approval of people who saw you as just a convenience. Now, every day you move forward, you're building a version of yourself that isn't bound by the chains of their judgment. You've become stronger not because they hurt you, but because you chose to rise above it. This transformation isn't just about getting over them. It's about becoming a person who doesn't need them. Someone who realizes that the validation they once craved from others has always been within. Every step you take now, every silence you keep, speaks of a newfound independence they can't touch. And here's the beauty of it all. Your silence has a power they'll never understand. While they try to move on, you're growing in ways they'll never be able to reach. Every glance they get of you, changed, empowered, standing tall, is a reminder of what they let slip away. It's a silent message that says, I don't need you to define me. I am more than enough on my own. You've stopped fighting for their attention, stopped dancing to their tune, and now they're the ones left watching, wishing they could turn back time. But here's the truth that hits hardest. You don't need them. You never did. Your growth, your transformation, was never dependent on them. It was always about you reclaiming your own worth, about stepping into your own spotlight. And now, as you move forward, leaving their shadow far behind, the question lingers for them. How could they have ever overlooked someone so powerful? Keep watching, because this is only the beginning of your story. The journey to self-worth has just started, and the best is yet to come. Your irreplaceability haunts them as you step into your newfound strength, thriving in a life free from their shadow. There's one truth that begins to settle in for them, a truth that will haunt them long after you've moved on. You are irreplaceable. They'll start to notice it in the smallest of ways, in quiet moments when they reach for something familiar only to realize it's no longer there. Every attempt to fill the space you left, every new face they bring into their life, will only serve as a reminder of what's missing, because what they're trying to replace isn't just a person. It's a presence, an energy, an authenticity they took for granted. See, they believed they could find another like you, someone who would fit seamlessly into the spot you once held. But what they don't realize is that you aren't just another person. You were someone who saw them in ways others couldn't, someone who gave without expecting anything in return. You were that rare soul who brought warmth, loyalty, and depth into their life, and now, as they try to recreate that with others, they're beginning to understand that true connection isn't something you can just replace. It will start as a small, nagging feeling, an emptiness they can't quite shake. They go about their days trying to convince themselves they've moved on, but deep down, they'll feel it, the void that nothing else can fill. And every time they try to ignore it, it will resurface, like a haunting reminder that echoes through the quiet moments they can't escape. The people they surround themselves with may offer temporary comfort, but it won't be long before they realize that they're chasing shadows, comparing everyone to the standard you set. And here's the irony. They once thought you'd always be there, available whenever they felt like reaching out. Now that certainty is gone, replaced by a regret that grows heavier with each passing day. Your irreplaceability is their constant reminder, a reflection of everything they took for granted. They'll see your strength, your growth, and realize they let slip away something that others will cherish. For them, it's a wound that never quite heals, a reminder of their own failure to value what was real when it was right in front of them. And while they're haunted by that emptiness, you're walking a path they can't follow, one of strength, resilience, and fulfillment. They may look for you in everyone they meet, but here's the truth that will stay with them. There's no one else like you, and that's the part they'll carry with them long after you've closed this chapter. But the journey doesn't end here. The strength of your silence, your self-worth, and your growth have only just begun to unfold. Stick with me, because this story isn't over yet. The redefinition of loyalty and love. As you continue forward, something profound begins to change within you. A complete redefinition of what loyalty and love truly mean. Where once you might have clung to relationships out of loyalty, regardless of how you were treated, You now see things differently. You understand that loyalty without respect is a chain, not a bond, and love without mutual value is a burden, not a gift. This isn't about bitterness. It's about self-respect. They believed your loyalty was endless, that no matter how many times they tested your patience, you'd stay. But now, you recognize that loyalty isn't about holding on when someone treats you as an option. It's about knowing when to let go and prioritize yourself. Your loyalty was never meant to be taken for granted, and it's not something you owe to anyone who refuses to honor it. True loyalty doesn't mean self-sacrifice. It means mutual respect and love. You've redefined that too. Love isn't about giving so much of yourself that you're left empty. Love should be an exchange, not an erosion of your own spirit. You're no longer interested in love that leaves you begging, wondering, or doubting your worth. Real love respects boundaries, values truth, and strengthens both people involved. You deserve a love that doesn't require you to prove yourself, a love that's steady and affirming, not conditional and uncertain. For them, this shift might feel like a betrayal, a sudden withdrawal of the loyalty they thought they had secured forever. But this isn't about them, it's about you. Your loyalty now belongs to those who deserve it, to those who value you as you are, not as a backup plan or convenience. And that kind of loyalty, that kind of love, it's priceless and rare, and not everyone gets to claim it. So, as you redefine what loyalty and love mean, remember this. Your strength lies in choosing not to settle, in loving yourself enough to walk away from anything that no longer serves you. They might label you as the one who changed, but in truth, you're simply evolving, discovering a love and loyalty that reflect your own worth. This isn't the end. It's the beginning of a life filled with connections that honor who you truly are. And we're not done yet. The journey towards self-worth and empowered love has more to reveal. Stick around, because the best is yet to come. The impact of regret and realization. As you move forward in strength, a slow pain of realization starts creeping into their mind, a regret they can no longer ignore. At first, they might try to dismiss it, convincing themselves that losing you wasn't a big deal, that they could move on as if nothing happened. But over time, the truth begins to sink in. Regret becomes their constant shadow, lingering in the quiet moments when distractions fade. They're forced to confront the reality that they let go of someone who was real, someone who offered them loyalty and love without conditions. And that loss is one they'll carry long after you're gone. Every decision they made to push you away, every moment they dismissed your worth, is now a memory that echoes with regret. It's like a mirror they can't avoid, a reflection that shows them the consequences of their own choices. They see your growth, your resilience, and they're reminded of the value they failed to appreciate. This isn't just a fleeting feeling of loss. It's a relentless reminder that they gambled on your loyalty, expecting you to stay forever, and they lost. Their regret intensifies as they realize that you were never something they could replace. Others may come and go, but nothing fills the space you left behind. And now, they're left replaying every memory, questioning every choice, wishing they could turn back time. But it's too late. The version of you that once waited, hoped, and gave so freely is gone, transformed by the very silence they mistook as weakness. In their regret, they'll experience the sting of their own oversight. They'll see that it wasn't you who lost. It was them, trapped in a cycle of trying to ignore what they know. Deep down, they let go of someone rare, someone irreplaceable. This realization doesn't bring them peace. It brings them the weight of knowing they could have had something real, but chose to take it for granted. And as that regret deepens, so does your power. You've moved on to a place they can't reach, empowered by the choice to leave behind what no longer served you. While they're haunted by what could have been, you're embracing what's next, no longer defined by their choices or the validation they withheld. Their regret is a burden they'll carry alone, a silent testament to the value they failed to recognize until it was far beyond their reach. But your story doesn't end here. This journey has just begun, and there's so much more to uncover about the strength you found in choosing yourself. So stay with me. The most powerful chapters are still ahead. Freedom from toxicity and moving forward. Now that you've broken free, you're stepping into a new chapter, one defined by freedom from toxicity and a path forward that's entirely yours. This isn't just about moving on, it's about reclaiming every part of yourself that was tied up in someone who couldn't see your worth. You're no longer held back by the expectations, judgments, or manipulations of those who tried to keep you small. This is your time to thrive. Imagine this freedom as a breath of fresh air after being underwater for too long. You no longer need to fight for their attention or approval, and that release feels like shedding weights you didn't even realize you were carrying. Toxic relationships have a way of clouding our self-worth, making us believe we're less than we are. But now, every step you take forward is a reminder of your strength, of the resilience it took to walk away from what no longer served you. With each day, you're moving into a space where your happiness, growth, and peace come first. No longer do you have to bend to fit into someone else's narrative, someone who couldn't appreciate the real you. You're choosing, for the first time in a long time, to define your love life on your own terms. This is where you reclaim your joy, your ambition, and your self-respect, qualities that were yours all along, but had been overshadowed by their toxicity. And here's the best part. As you walk this path, you'll see just how strong you've become. The challenges, the hurt, the doubt, they've all shaped you into someone who's resilient, someone who no longer tolerates anything less than respect and love. Your silence now speaks volumes, sending a clear message to the world that you will not settle for anything less than what you deserve. People may try to tell you that moving on means forgetting, but true freedom is deeper than that. It's learning to remember without being weighed down. It's holding on to the lessons without letting the pain dictate your future. You're not just surviving, you're thriving in a way that's built on self-worth and the wisdom you've gained. As you embrace this newfound freedom, remember this. This isn't just about leaving the past behind. It's about creating a future where your peace, your worth, and your happiness are unshakable. You're no longer looking back, wondering what could have been. You're stepping boldly into a life where you're in control, where you define the love and loyalty you deserve. This is the strength they never saw coming, the transformation they underestimated. So ask yourself, are you ready to keep building a life that even you couldn't have imagined before? Because what's waiting ahead will surprise you more than anything you've left behind. So stay with me. Final resolution, acceptance, and strength. In the final stretch of this journey, you find something more valuable than closure. Acceptance. This isn't about pretending it didn't hurt or trying to erase the past. It's about looking back with clarity, seeing each part of the story for what it was, and understanding how it shaped you into the person you are today. You no longer need to hold on to the anger, the hurt, or the disappointment. Instead, you accept that their chapter in your life has ended, and you've moved on with a sense of strength that's unbreakable. Acceptance doesn't mean you forget. It means you no longer allow their choices to control your emotions or determine your self-worth. You've come to realize that their failure to appreciate you was not a reflection of your value. It was a reflection of their own limits, their own inability to see what was real and rare in front of them. With this acceptance, you reclaim your power, no longer haunted by the need for an apology, an explanation, or any form of validation from them. And here's where strength becomes your ally. You're not just surviving this experience, you're thriving beyond it. You've built resilience, learned to trust yourself, and found a kind of peace that no one can take away. This strength is what sets you apart. It's what allows you to rise above, knowing that you're whole on your own. You don't need anyone who doesn't see your worth. You've already proven it to yourself. Every time they see you now, they'll witness the unshakable confidence that comes from choosing yourself. They'll see a person who has not only healed, but transformed. This isn't the version of you that pleaded for understanding, that waited on the sidelines for appreciation. No, this is the version of you that walks away without looking back, knowing that what lies ahead is far greater than anything left behind. They may have lost someone irreplaceable, but you've gained a self-respect and freedom that can't be measured. Acceptance has brought you a new kind of clarity. You're no longer tethered to their opinions, judgments, or decisions. The peace you feel now is a testament to the strength you've built by walking through the fire and coming out the other side. You've learned that real strength isn't about holding on. It's about letting go with grace. It's about knowing that some people don't deserve the loyalty you once offered, and that your love is something rare to be given to those who truly value it. And as you walk forward, carrying the lessons of this journey, remember that you hold the power now. You've reclaimed every part of yourself that once depended on their approval, and with each step, you're building a life that reflects your worth. They might continue to wonder, to regret, to feel the weight of what they lost, but that's their story to carry. Yours is about freedom. So here you are, stronger, wiser, and ready to embrace what's next without hesitation. This final resolution is yours, a testament to your courage to walk away, to stand tall, and to define your own worth on your own terms. This isn't the end. It's the culmination of a journey that's made you unstoppable. And from here, every decision, every path you choose is yours and yours alone. The question is, where will you take this newfound strength? Because the possibilities are limitless, and every step forward is a testament to just how far you've come. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more empowering content that keeps you focused on your journey to self-worth and strength. Share this video with someone who might need a reminder of their own power, and let's keep building this community of resilience and transformation together.